Where to start with it? Like for me, see, I always have to say my name's Aaron, I'm an addict. Because for so many years I couldn't like accept the fact that I was an addict. And that's just because of me being in recovery. But that kind of also stems back from when I was a child as well, because we've been diagnosed with borderline ADHD, dyspraxia, and now learning difficulties. I found it really hard to fit in with a lot of other people. And I never felt like I was always part of. I always felt indifferent and made to feel like I was an alien, and like, just because I was someone with disabilities, and people started catching on. My dad was an alcoholic as well, and my mum was never around, so that all correlated into one. That's when my resentments really started, because I resented myself, I resented my parents, I resented my little brother, I resented the world. Like, I couldn't articulate and try to figure out as to what was really going on. And it led to a lot of bullying as well. And around 11-year-old, that's when my first attempt at suicide really took tenfold, because it started having more of a longevity effect of not wanting to be here anymore. And because I grew up that far without my mum really around, and my dad was always drinking and used to beat me and force me to drink bottles of washing up liquid, because I used to copy him for swearing and acting out at school and things, because again, being misunderstood and somebody who doesn't really understand what's really going on, I was made to feel like I wasn't allowed to actually just be me. And then it just went further from there. Like, by the time I went through high school, after seeing a child psychologist and stuff, by the time I was 15, I ended up, that's when my addiction started. To be honest, I think parts of my addiction really started from as a child, because I used to steal my mum and dad's beers all the time and stuff, and all their alcohol. But I never actually made it my full choice until I was 15, when I picked up cannabis. And again, that's when I wanted to fit in with other people, because it'd been made to feel like I wasn't part of. Drugs were that gateway into being liked and wanted to be around from other people, and it just, to begin with, I loved the effects of what it did, because I was always around a lot of other people who were using. I could always get everything that I wanted, but it was never enough. I always wanted something more. And growing up with somebody who's got disabilities, and they're trying to get around my disease and stuff as well, and actually just wanting to be me, it just never worked. It really never worked. And over the course from 15 to the age of 22, that's when my addiction started really taking hold. Like, by the time I was 22, I lost 3 of my grandparents, and that just threw me even deeper and darker, and I wanted to use more. But at the same time, I'd also, by the time I was 22, stealing, shoplifting and all sorts of things. Like, my family and my parents couldn't trust me at that point, so by the time I was 22, I was out on the streets. And again, that's when I come back to where my addiction took really tenfold. Like, I was a 22-year-old, still a scared little boy at heart, didn't know what to do with myself, and it just took me even further to manipulation, emotional blackmail, shoplifting, stealing from other people on the street. And it's like, I look back at it all now, and there's a part of me that wishes I'd never picked up those drugs at 15-year-old. But if I didn't, if I go back and I look at it and I didn't end up picking up drugs, how would my life be right now? But then there's a reason why it all happened. and it's like to be able to just live the life that I'm living now, really, in a sense. But it kind of gets me thinking though, because through those 8 years of me being out on the streets from 22 to 30, there's 3 other suicide attempts, and there was shoplifting involved, street thefts. I've seen people die, but I've also come close to, not just because of the suicide attempts, but I've also come very close to actually being caught up in other people's stuff as well, because it's a vicious life out there. And even though at times when I did start to actually build those relationships with my family, I always craved that chaos because I was so used to it from being out on the streets that I didn't know any different. And it just kind of makes me I kind of really still get a bit annoyed with it all, because I'm trying to watch me swearing here as well, by the way. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Feel myself wanting to do it. But it like being able to see it from a different perspective and how it really affected my family now. There is still a part of me that is a bit shameful and guilty, because I put a lot of people through a lot of harm, and that's not just including myself. Like, I've just been doing frequently at men's this past couple of weeks, and one of the biggest people that really did get to see everything from behind the scenes was my little brother. And this is where, because of all the stuff that I did through my active addiction, he got to see everything from behind the scenes. Like, even though my auntie, my nana, like my uncle, and some of the other family, they got to see some of it, but my little brother had to pick up the pieces and put mum and dad back together, because I just didn't care. All I wanted is it states in one of the readings or somewhere, it's finding ways to instigate more. I did not care at any given stage whilst I was using drugs of who I harmed or how I did it, as long as I got my drugs in my system. And that's where it comes from, like still feeling a bit guilty and remorseful and wishing I could turn back the clocks, but I can't. That's the biggest thing that I have to accept, is the fact that I can't turn back the clocks, I can't change what's happened. The only thing I can do is do what I'm doing today, and that's obviously working the program and keeping my life in check, so then it has a positive impact on those around me. Still doesn't take some of that pain away, really doesn't. So then yeah, it kind of leads me to So I'm just kind of thinking now, because in 2017 I did get baptised as Christian, but around that time I was still using as well, and even though there was a part of me that did feel like I'd found some faith, I still blamed everybody. I blamed God, I blamed the lot, like I blamed everybody else, because I couldn't accept that it was me who needs to take that first step. And I just couldn't accept it. Like, as much as there was always help there was always somebody who wanted to put out a reaching hand and try and guide me and stuff. It was down to me to make that decision. And my dad's just recently said this as well, because as much as it was painful for them to see that what I was doing and what I was going through and how I was affecting other people, they couldn't do anything about it. Like, my mum, around those years, around from 2017 up until when I got into recovery, she was constantly either watching the news to find out if I was going to turn up dead, expecting a knock or a phone call to say that they'd found me dead, and that struck a chord at that. And now I've just been saying to people just before we started in here, was my clean time day actually, well, I walked into recovery on the 16th of December, but my last day of using was the 15th, and it's 3 days after my mum's birthday. And I remember speaking to my mum and dad about wanting to go into rehab and reaching that rock bottom. I'd had multiple rock bottoms, but this time it just felt so much deeper and deeper, and stronger, and I just knew that it was do or die, it was live a fight or flight. And just turning 30 years old, I found myself starting a conversation with my parents, telling them what was going on. But what my mum and dad didn't know up until recently was, on my mum's birthday, I was sat in the doorway in Leeds City Centre with a knife ready to slit my throat because I was done. And that's where I found myself saying a prayer and getting into recovery from those 3 days, over those 3-4 days. And the hardest part of that, not just walking into recovery and not just changing that lifestyle and that mindset to begin with, it was that conversation with my parents because they didn't know how I was going to take it. And it was scary. But this is my first stint in recovery, and I'm not going to say that it hasn't been easy. I'm not going to say that it's been a whirlwind of emotion, but like, I'm just going back through it all, and it's like the fact that I found myself sat in that doorway over 3 years ago saying a prayer, and then 3 days later walking into recovery and walking into rehab. It's that fear of the unknown and that fear of stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that I never thought was possible, which was changing my life around. And this is where I look at all the times that I've built friendships with people, and I've seen a lot of relapse, and I've seen a lot of people die due to this disease. And it keeps a fire ignited to the point where I can't go into that life anymore. I can't do that stuff anymore. Because to me, I ended up back out there on them streets, so I ended up using again. I would actually kill myself off. I know for a fact I would, because I couldn't do it again. Because I see the effects that it has on other people. It's a domino effect. And I'm not going to say like, it's not easy. It's really not. Some of the hardest parts that I've had to go through in recovery when I was working the steps was in step 4. There's a part in step 4 that talks about sex and abuse, like abuse, sexual abuse and stuff like that. Now I always used to think that I was a victim, because I found myself at 24 years old going to go do a job for somebody who ended up drugging me and locked me in his flat for 3 weeks. And ended up having to go through 6 months of sexual health clinic and things because I thought I had HIV. And that's where this step actually really helped me, because it helped me acknowledge that I'm not a victim. Nah, I'm still alive, I've still survived that stuff. And that's what it helps me acknowledge that I'm a survivor of it all. And this program has taught me not how to just deal with life and life terms, and it's not just about being able to go about my daily life and being work and having my own place and stuff. My faith has grown a whole lot more since I've been in recovery, because it's always been there. Like, even though there's been 4 different attempts at suicide, there's been all sorts of stuff going on, still felt this purpose that was coming from somewhere and somehow, somewhere. And I can honestly stand here and say that if it wasn't for that driving force that pushed me into recovery and making me feel like there was something waiting for me behind another closed door, I wouldn't have actually done it. I really wouldn't have done it. I found it so difficult being able to actually snap out of all those behaviours and mindset of like, I'll do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it, why I want to do it, who I'm going to do it with. No one's going to change that. What made it evidently clear was I can't continue with that old lifestyle, I can't continue with those old behaviours and mindset, because it's just going to get me nowhere. There's a saying that we always hear is, you'll always get what you've always got if you continue doing the exact same thing over and over, expecting different results. It's never going to work. And I'm just trying to actually go back, I'm just looking at some of these notes here, and I'm struggling to read my own handwriting. So I'm kind of getting a bit lost and confused, because I'm still here looking at it and I'm like, hang on a minute, what I said there? But no, it's like, so I talked about like the hardships of being in recovery. So within 18 months, I found out my mum got diagnosed with double breast cancer and went into her lymph nodes. And it shook me to my core. It really did. I could feel as though behaviours coming back into it of where I wanted to make everything about me. And if it wouldn't have been for the fact that I was at the London Convention, I wouldn't have gone. And it wouldn't have been, if I wouldn't have been in like the place where I was, and the staff that was there urging me to go and do it, because if I'd have stuck around, I'd have probably gone and relapsed. And I'm grateful that I didn't. But that's another key point as to where my faith really got stronger from that point as well, because for about 3 weeks straight, every single day, at least 3 days a week, I was praying every single day for at least 3 weeks. And now luckily enough, I'm fortunate enough, my mum's cancer free. It still doesn't, like, as much as I can take gratitude in the fact that she's cancer free, it still didn't take the pain away from thinking that my mum was going to die. But she didn't. And then roll on a couple of years later, from all seeing everybody relapse, loads of people die. We have what we call these reservations as well. And 2 of my biggest reservations nearly happened this past year. One of them was my nana suddenly out of nowhere passing away on 9th of September last year, which really got me, because it was like, it was only a few days before my birthday as well. But what's kind of strange is that she told my uncle 2 days prior to that she wanted to die. And then I find out Wednesday morning, on 9th of September, from a phone call off my mum, that she died of a cardiac arrest from having a CT scan because of her angina. It's the same exact way that my granddad went as well. And within space of 3 months, my dad almost died as well. But what I do, and what he didn't realise was, his appendix had burst on him a long time while back, and he got all infected and everything, and fortunately enough, they managed to catch it before it got any worse, and they told him he was 40 hours away from dying. And one of the biggest things that I do take out of all of everything that's happened is, not only did I manage to stay clean from it all, but I was able to acknowledge it's not all about me, it's about other people as well. Like, it still gets me now. Like, just being able to actually look back and doing step 10 daily inventory, which is where I'm at right now and stuff as well. It's like, look at my attitudes and my behaviours and my mindset, and like, am I being defective? Have I harmed anybody in a certain way? Do I owe apologies or amends? Like, there's so much to actually looking at how my recovery and my life has changed over these past nearly 3 years and 4 months. And I still take a lot of gratitude in the fact that this is my first ever time in recovery. And I have to openly admit that there has been times where I wanted to sack everything off and just run away from my fear, because of my fears. But then I get this not feeling in my stomach of knowing that it's not the best choice to make. What about the domino effect of everybody else that's going to get harmed in that process? It's like what's going to happen next? The tape projection can be a really bad thing to do, but I don't see it as that, because it's playing the tape forward and knowing that if my actions and my old behaviours and stuff start coming out to play, it's where it's going to affect other people again. I can't afford that to happen. And it always reminds me of like why I keep doing what I'm doing today, why I still have a strong faith, why I've still got relationships with my family, like my parents and my little brother. I talked about amends. I just did my amends with my little brother a couple of weeks ago. And the little git caught me off guard, because I've always loved my little brother. As much as I resented him, I'd always loved him. And he wasn't saying it back to me. It caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it. Like, I honestly thought my little brother didn't want nothing to do with me anymore. I really did. Because obviously all the stuff like the emotional blackmail, like the trauma that I caused my parents and stuff like that, never thought he'd actually say it back to me. And here's one of the other key things as well, is because like with me doing what I'm doing today, I'm able to go off this weekend and go scatter my nan's ashes with my family. Because if it won't be, like I say, if it won't be for obviously the programme of Narcotics Anonymous, it won't be for my faith and stuff like that, I'm doing what I need to do every single day as hard as it can be. I'm able to go do stuff like that with my family. Some of the biggest things that I do take from this is the fact that I've gone from, there's a sign in my old daycare saying from chaos to citizenship. Like, I never thought having my own place and paying my own bills would be so difficult. Getting back into work. The biggest things that I never thought would happen is having a spare key and the code to the alarm in my mum's house. And the fact that she pays me to go clean her house. Like, it's just so remarkable of how much there is to actually being in recovery and how life can just change. Doesn't mean to say that it's easy, doesn't mean to say that it's hard. All I can say is for me, my journey and my experiences, I can't afford to lose what I've got. So I remind myself every single day of where I've come from, what I've done, so that it doesn't happen again. I'm just kind of losing a bit of track of my thoughts now as well, to be honest. But, see, I know that without that push, on the 12th of December 2021 to walk into recovery, like I said, I'd be dead. I honestly would be dead. And that's where I'm reading this one word for on this piece of paper, is how much I'm grateful for the life that I have. Because as much as my nerves get me, as much as fear can bring in, as much as the anxiety can take hold, being able to try and articulate between me being an addict with a disease, my disabilities and stuff, and actually just trying to be me. As much as all that can be difficult, I still have my faith, and I still have my life, I still have a lot of things that I'm grateful for. The one thing I never thought would happen whilst I was in recovery is being able to spend as much time as I did with my nana. And I had a conversation with my sponsor about this the other day, and he asked me, did she forgive you? I'm like, what are you on about? He went, did she let you in her house? I'm like, yeah. Did you go and help her out? Did you actually do stuff around the house or anything? Like, did she talk to you and stuff? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, don't you think that she actually forgave you? And I'm like, how do you sometimes even read my mind, you? Because this is the ungrateful thing that I have about my sponsor, is that sometimes he's able to see things without actually, like, being in the same room as me or seeing my facial expressions or even understanding where my mindset goes, because it's so complex. Like, we've taught each other a lot about patience and tolerance over the last 3 years. Because as much as I can annoy him, he annoys me sometimes as well. But he's been there, he's met my family, he's done all sorts of stuff for me. He's helped me tackle all this stuff that happened whilst I was in recovery, being able to actually give me a different perspective from an outside view looking in. Like, he can always catch me off guard with something that I've never heard before, or that I have heard before, but he always tells me in a different way. Like I say, he's met my family, and I've just been on about him on about it the other day. It's like, as much as quite a few occasions I've wanted to tell him to get lost and like I don't want him to be my sponsor anymore. He pulls something out of the bag and gets me literally like, catches me off guard and like snaps me back into reality and makes me believe that there's a lot more to life than just being in recovery and having a job, having my own place and things. There's a whole world out there ready to be taken care of. Like at the minute, never thought I'd be doing my driving lessons and trying to go for my licence, but I am. I never thought I'd have the relationship that I've got with my family, being able to actually go and clean my mum's house or go around for Sunday dinner, like I made my mum Sunday dinner for Mother's Day. Never thought that'd happen. Being able to go and scatter my nana's ashes and stuff over a weekend, and just so many different things that I'm grateful for at this point in time. But the one person who's never let me down, he's never made me feel like he wasn't there. Like he never actually cared, and obviously that's God, do you know what I mean? Like pushing me through so many different things, showing me in different ways, and just being able to actually just sit and be peaceful and actually be comfortable with me. Like I despised myself for so many years, which is why I tried to commit suicide, because I couldn't handle who I'd become and what I'd done to other people. And now today I can look in the mirror and actually be comfortable with who I am and actually be proud of the fact that I've studied at Clean over 3 years.
Go on, man.
Doesn't mean to say that it's been hard, doesn't mean to say that it's been easy either. But the one thing that I have done is white knuckled it and kept my ass in a seat and done what I needed to do. Because again, like I said before, I'll never forget where I've come from and I'll never go back to it as much as I can possibly fight it. I can't bear going back into that life. Because it's no life to live. It's really no life to live, being stuck out on the streets doing the things that I've done. But yeah, I'm just kind of losing now where I am, to be honest with you, because I think I'm getting called off in a minute anyway, to be honest.
I knew you would shut up after starting, didn't I?
What can I say when it's me ADHD on my chat box? I can't help this stuff now. But yeah, there's a lot of gratitude and a lot of acknowledgement of there's still more to come. There's still a lot more things that happen.
The best is yet to come.
100%.
We'll start you.
Wow. Well, we thank God that you prayed that prayer, Aaron, that